Yo, what up, boys? It's Kobe Cheese. I'm back with an update for my Warrior video. Yes, it's been probably around a decade since my last video on this channel, but you know what? I'm having a lot of fun with PoE 2. Just made a guest post for Moxie's Build Guide YouTube channel, and I thought, hey, what the heck? I'm gonna go ahead. There's been a lot of questions about my Warrior. Figured I'd go ahead and give you guys the update on what I'm doing now. So I've actually made a variant that I'd love to show off, which is the Shockwave Totem. Now, let's talk about the motivation for this change and how it's working out. So the Shockwave Totem is certainly not as much boss damage as my Sunder setup. However, overall, it to me feels great for running through maps and getting clear done. And honestly, that is the majority of what I'm doing in this video game is running through breaches. That's what I personally enjoy doing, clearing maps fast. It's great fun. And obviously with bosses, you're not going to be gimped completely. I still kill them incredibly fast. But if I was just going to go do running a lot of pinnacle boss content, maybe I switch back to the Sunder just to kill them a little bit faster. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump through what the changes are. And don't worry if you are already following my previous Warrior guide, nothing is bricked. It's just a few small changes. In fact, you can swap back and forth freely. It's not too big of a deal. Now, of course, as with the new skill, all I did was I basically swapped out the Ancestral Warrior Totems for a Shockwave Totem. Now, if you're not familiar, Shockwave Totem, just like the Ancestral Warrior Totem, uses its own weapon. So it scales the same way. All of your gear is going to work that you used for the Ancestral Warrior Totem. The only difference is you don't have to also socket in a mace skill. And you'll see mine's not even 6 linked. I never really cared. And what we do here is we throw in a Shockwave with a bunch of extra damage, some attack speed, because the attack speed really ramps up the DPS quite a lot on these totems, along with the +1 skills and magnified effect so that I can clear in a much larger area, because this particular variant, as I said, is all about clear speed. So the other update is you can see I've got a little bit more HP. I went and looked up a chest piece that would give me more HP and open gem slots to throw in these max life socketed jewels now that my resists are in a good spot, because that bumped my HP up to 4,700. And at this point in the game, I've started to realize, I'm sure a lot of you, perhaps if you've been following other videos, that armor is not that crazy. So I also took off the scavenged plating. And rather than that, I am taking overwhelming presence aura in order to just stun enemies more often, because I don't really care about armor as much. It's nice against small hits. However, the thing that's really killing you is the big hits and big elemental damage, at least what I found personally, especially if you start running maps with additional damage as X element, for example. So getting as much HP as possible feels really nice. And for small hits, what I did was I just stacked as much life regen as I could. You'll see that when I throw down totems, I've got around 800 life regen per second. It's quite insane. So this is more than enough to deal with things. And it also makes one of the worst map types in the game totally ignorable, pretty much, which is burning ground. If you guys have run any build that uses energy shield, you probably just don't even run burning ground. This build has no issue with that. So, hey, if you got multiple characters, then this is your burning ground running character, I'd say. Now, the next thing to look at is our skill tree update, and really the main changes on the skill tree versus the other build are that I took a lot of area size nodes, which is this little cluster right here, which is area damage, area size, and then rather than going for a mana setup, since I'm constantly throwing down totems and I'm clearing as quick as possible, I am burning through mana way faster. Therefore, I just switched over to using blood magic. And that way, I don't even have to worry about the whole mana regen stuff. So if you guys have already bought mana regen gear, that's totally fine. I mean, I have it too as well. But going for the life regen is just great for survivability. And on top of that, you'll be able to sustain these totems. You'll see my health doesn't really, I'm like throwing down totems like a madman. You're never going to do this. But even that, boom, the health goes right back up. So I'm never going to have an issue with casting my totems in the middle of fights. And even in a lower life regen map, which, you know, those suck, but even in those, it's not that bad, especially with this high of a regen. Now, the way we get that much regen is I'm throwing life regen on my jewels in addition to whatever damage rolls I can. So just grab life regen and then as many damage rolls as well as bleed magnitude. We are still doing the bleed because that is how you scale the Hammer of the Gods damage with this particular setup. And the bleed does stack up from the totems and help you finish off mobs as well. So we have all of the same nodes, but I also went up this direction. This is such an insanely juicy cluster of skill points, this Hail Heart cluster here. So I just went up this way, grabbed Hail Heart, and that is essentially the difference. You'll see I started heading towards this. You don't really need Aftershock. I'm not using that, but I just took a couple more area nodes right there. And that also, this change, I found that my accuracy, I changed a piece of gear. My accuracy was getting down to like 85%. And since I'm no longer doing the Sunder setup, I don't care about critting. So I went into Resolute Technique and it actually boosted my DPS quite a bit since I was not already at 100% accuracy. So if you're in the same position where you're not at 100% accuracy, you can just click this button and that's just a straight up boost to your DPS. Anyways, pretty simple setup. Let's go ahead and throw in a map and I will show you guys what this looks like. I've picked out a map here with the Burning Ground on it. This was the map that I did not want to run on any other character. However, with our life regen setup, this is no problemo. I'm gonna go ahead and pick out a map that has a boss on it, as well as let's do Delirium. That way everything's a little tankier. You can see how it performs even with somewhat of a more tanky setup from the mobs. So we jump in here. Again, the entire goal of this build is just to be pretty chill, very casual. Throw on the totems, I'll run through the map, clear everything, and you'll see that is really achieved. We just throw it on one, maybe two totems, and continue moving. I'll shield charge in between packs of mobs when there are not any, and it's quite relaxing. We'll just put on this build, throw on all of my annoying Burning Ground maps, and just get to pumping. The main difference between this build and the Sunder, you'll see that sometimes on the Sunder build, you'll throw down a totem and it'll just slap every mob in its way. However, occasionally you'll get some mobs coming from multiple directions, and the Sunder totem does in fact attack a little bit slower. So you'll have a couple of mobs kind of wailing on you from behind in some cases, and you'll have to reposition a totem just to take out those. But with this setup and all of the area of effect nodes, as well as that magnified area on the totem itself, you'll notice that's not even really an issue. The other part here is these are some tight corridors, and we're just walking through this Burning Ground. You'll see if you just take a peek here at my live pool, it's really not moving at all. I can just stand in it. I can AFK. In fact, it's kind of annoying. The other day I was on a different character, which I'll showcase in another video, but I was looting and standing in a Burning Ground and I just died. It really made me mad. So just never gonna run these again on a different character. But for this guy, we are just kind of chill, we're relaxing and running through this map like it's no problem. The gameplay is very similar to the Sunders. You're just running through and using your resonating strike. Even though armor break is not going to be a big issue for, or I guess a big multiplier of damage for the mobs, it's still going to help you to stagger as well as give you that extra active block as a layer of defense when you run up to the face of an enemy. And I am still running that magma aura, which allows me to do a pretty big, significant hit on enemies that actually do proc my block and just kind of blast that magma right back into their face. So that's the same gameplay overall. If you enjoyed the Sunder Totem setup, you'll most likely enjoy playing this as well. And like I said, I just wanted to give you this particular variant to show you the difference. So we are cruising through here, just gonna run right in the middle of everything, throw down my totems. You'll see things kind of blast. I'll put down the hammer right there anytime I feel like there's something maybe a little bit tankier. And hey, here we go. It's boss time, baby. This guy from the campaign, you don't see him very often. So let's put down everything. You see he gets stunned pretty much right away, throwing down the hammer. Every time it is off of cooldown, boom, there it is. There's a little bit of the bleed. Now, again, if you have seen the Sunder gameplay, this is, of course, a little bit less damage. The Sunder crits really stack up massively on these bosses. However, it's still a decent clear speed, in my opinion. Now, this guy is a lot tankier than most bosses, even, to be honest, because of the delirium. And even with that, he still goes down quite quickly. I don't really take much damage because I'm sitting here active blocking constantly. And it only took me a few seconds longer than using the Sunder setup. But I have that added bonus big AoE clear size with these totems. So that pretty much covers it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this variant of the build. I will be posting it up, or I have already posted it up as a variant on the max roll build guide. If you guys haven't seen the original video, by the way, definitely go check it out on Moxie's channel. I'll be linking everything in the description below. I am cooking up some other builds. I've already got 2 other characters that are incredible that I want to show off. So if you do want to see those or any other variants of either this build or anything else, just let me know and I'll be showing those off in the future as well. So I'll see you guys around next time. That's it for now though, so peace.